he got up and he was able to find the care that he needed. And he was working in ministry where he was, but he felt like God was calling him elsewhere. And so then he was trying to figure out where this was. And he went to church one day and he heard that they were trying to send a missionary to the islands around Australia, because there were tribes there that hadn't heard the gospel. And so he's like, I would like to go to this. And so he prayed about it and he told the church that yes, he could go. And now he needed to tell his parents, because they were the ones that raised him. So he went to his parents and he's like, hey, I would like to go here. I hope this is okay with you, because this is where I believe God is calling me to go. So his parents were like, yes, when you were a child, we gave your life over to the Lord, and so if this is where God wants you to go, you should go. So John, he packed up his things, and he also had a wife, so he brought his wife, and he went on a boat to Australia. Now, after Australia, it was another 12-day ride, and so then he got on another boat with the captain, and they went to go to these islands. Now, once they saw the islands, the captain is like, okay, I'm out. I'm not going to take you any further. These people are very, very dangerous. So here's a small boat that has a sail that you can go to these islands in. And so John and his wife, they got in the boat with their stuff, but the captain was in such a hurry to get away from these islands that he actually broke the mast for this small boat. So John and his wife were just in the ocean and weren't able to go anywhere because the mast was gone. Well, thankfully, a missionary that was already on the island saw John and his wife and went out to go and save them. Now, they got to the island, and he needed to start learning the language because it's a different language that they speak there. And so he needed to learn the language, he needed to build a house for his family, and he needed to start getting ready to start learning, meeting the missionaries, but also the tribe people. So he was hanging up blankets one day at his house that he had built, and one of the chiefs came to him and is like, come here, please. And so then John followed him, but he didn't realize, there was nothing for him to do there. No one was in need, there was nothing, so he went back home and his blankets were stolen. The people had stolen his blankets, and this was a common thing. They liked to steal John's things, so he couldn't be away from home that long. Now, there were many tribes on this island, and they would all fight with each other for the land and for possessions and all of that stuff. And so one of these times, there was really, really bad fighting happening on the middle of the island. So John, he wanted to tell them about Jesus, so he went with a couple of his friends to the island to find these people, to show them that this is not how God wanted them to do it. And so he got to the island, to the middle of the island, and he's like, stop fighting. I would like to tell you about God's love. So he told them about God's love, and then they stopped fighting and paused their fighting for them because they had heard about what Jesus had done. Now, John came home, and after a little bit, after a couple weeks or whatever, he started working in his garden. Now, this is where he would get his food, so he was out there for a little bit, and then he thought he heard something, and so he looked behind him, and there was a tribesman there. And this man was holding a gun up to his head, and he was holding it there, but he wasn't shooting. And John, he was a little afraid because this man could very well kill him because of this gun. And so he's praying to God, and he's like, God, please protect me, help this man to go away. Well, do you think the man went away?
Yes.
Yes?
No, he surely died.
He was there for 4 hours staring at John and watching him. He never shot, but he was just there. And this was a little, it would be heart beating for me to have a man there with a gun at your head, right? But thankfully, after 4 hours of this, he went away. Now, John, he knew that it was just about time to start building a church because there were people there who believed in God, but he needed a church to help them, to teach them. And so then he got all the village people together and they started building the foundation for their church. And as they were digging, one of the men hit something, and then he stopped and he dropped his shovel and he backed up and he's like, no, I am finished, I'm not digging anymore. And John's like, what is the problem? It's probably just a stone. Well, it was a stone, but it was a very, very big stone. And John's like, what is this? Obviously it had a purpose, it was built for something, so what is this? And the people explained it to John, and he's like, this was where we used to sacrifice to one of our gods. And this is where you are now trying to build a church. And so then they wanted the witch doctors to come in and take this stone away so that it wouldn't be where they were. But John's like, no, my God is more powerful than this. So he left the stone there and they continued building the church. One day when John was preaching, he decided that he was going to try and test the witch doctors. So they had said that if someone ate a piece of fruit, then they would cast a spell on the fruit and that person would die. So John, he took 3 pieces of fruit, took a bite out of each of the fruits, and gave it to 3 of the witch doctors and said, basically, try and kill me, but my God is bigger, so I know this will not happen. So the witch doctors, they're like, yes, you will be dead in a couple of days. So they took the fruit and they started to try and cast spells on it, and they went to their special tree and started working on this. And a couple days later, John came up to them and said, hi, I'm still alive. And they're like, no, it's okay, it will still happen. So give us a couple more days, on Sunday, you will be dead. And so John's like, okay, that's okay. I'm coming back to the village on Sunday to preach. If I'm alive, then obviously my God is stronger. Do you think John came back on Sunday alive?
No, he didn't.
Yes.
He was alive. He came, and he's like, and the 2 of the witch doctors came up to him and said, yes, you are right. Your God is stronger than our gods. And so then, this was amazing. The witch doctors believed him, except for one of them. One of them was angry at John, and so he picked up a spear and wanted to kill John, but everyone came around John and tried to save him. And thankfully, the witch doctor was unable to kill John. A couple days later, John was working in his house, and he got a message from a missionary that was across the island that said, they have no more flour, which means that they are not able to eat. So John's like, okay, we need to go and give this man flour, but it's really dangerous to walk across the island, so we will go across in a canoe, across the sea. And so then they started going, and it was really dangerous. The waves were pretty high, and they were going everywhere. And then everyone fell out of the boat, except for John. And John, he could not swim, and so he was really afraid. And the flour in the jar was gone. But a person on the shore saw John and came and rescued him. But John's like, wait, where is the flour? But they had found the flour as well. So they delivered the flour to the missionary that needed the food. And then John's like, okay, I need to get back home, or else all of my stuff is going to be gone. But the people that came with him are like, no, it's dark now, we're afraid of the dark, we are not going home tonight. But John's like, I need to go home, so I'm going to walk across the island to get back home, even though it's really dangerous. So John, he was following the path, and then he found a big rock that he needed to climb. And it was pretty dangerous. If he fell off this rock, he would fall into the ocean. And so he picked up roots, and he climbed this rock, and he was following the path. And once he got to the top of the rock, he realized that this is where the most dangerous tribe was. And they were probably not happy with John. They could have killed him. But John, he tiptoed around them and got to the other side of where the tribe was. And then he found another rock. He's like, I have to go down this rock now. And so John, he was trying to find a way down. He's like, there's rocks at the bottom of this, so if I fall, I could die. There's also water, but if I hit the water right, then it'll be okay, and I'll land in the water and it'll be okay. Oh, I think that there's a spot where you can slide down. So he went to try and find the spot where he could slide down, and then he grabbed the nearest root, and he's holding there, because he doesn't want to just fall without control. So he's waiting, and he's praying to God, please keep me safe. Don't make me fall off of this and hurt myself and die. Now, do you think John will die?
No.
Yes. You'll have to come back next time to find out.